Oh shit! What? That's not the fucking intro. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Full Court Fits, the show that takes you around the world of NBA fashion while also bringing you the biggest, best, brightest news in sneaker culture today. I'm your host, Big Woz, aka Wosny Lambre. Let's go. Okay, let's get into Cop or Drop. First up, we got Kuzma of the Washington Wizards. Although Kuzma has left LA, he's still dressing like somebody you might encounter on Hollywood Boulevard out here.
Ooh, Kuzma, wow. Airball.
The shirt is by a brand called Capital Global. Fall colors, you can see in the tones and in the motif. Kuzma's getting into the season here. Cargo pants by Amiri. And of course, those terrible Prada sneakers that everybody in the NBA seems intent upon rocking. Louis Vuitton man bag. It's a staple for NBA guys. The man purse look, that's just kind of what they're doing. I don't know that I like a white version of this with this particular outfit. I think it's kind of clashing. But yeah, just overall, this is just not the best that Kyle Kuzma has to offer. I've seen him do much better in the past. I'm gonna have to drop this fit. And a guy that we don't generally think about or talk about on this show, RJ Barrett of the New York Knicks.
Bing bong.
Here, decked in Gucci. I'm a big fan of this Gucci cardigan. Anytime you can get the green and red sort of iconic Gucci colorway. We actually bit that Gucci colorway for the Full Court Fits iconography. So of course we're gonna give it props here. Just the standard Gucci sneakers. Those are classic. People have been rocking those going back to the 80s. And a pair of Amiri pants. Again, I'm sure there's good people who do work over at Amiri. I just think NBA dudes are just running this stuff into the ground. I just think overall it's a pretty decent look for a guy who doesn't really go out there with his personal aesthetic. So I want to give RJ Barrett some props here. And so I'm going to cop this fit. On today's sneak peek, we have none other than Giannis Antetokounmpo and the good folks over at Nike. They've collaborated with Mattel, more specifically with the card game Uno, on a series of shoes and apparel. Giannis is obviously a big fan of the Uno card game. I think it's dope anytime Nike can do a collab that feels this natural. Just want to read the statement that Giannis put out. I want every product to be genuine and authentic, and playing Uno with my brothers is a big part of our lives. The Nike team has done a great job bringing my ideas to life, and I think they've created something for every Nike, Uno, and basketball fan in this collection. And so the collection includes an Air Force One, several pairs of Giannis's Zoom Freak 3s, and my favorite of them is the mule sandal. I think it's a really cool collection. I just think it's a really dope way that they tied this story together. It's nice when Nike can tell a dope story with the product that they're putting out. I look forward to this. Check this stuff out. NBA legend, radio DJ, freaking club DJ, music producer. The man speaks 4 different languages. He's lived all over the continents. You might be the most interesting man in the world. Rony Seikaly, welcome to Full Court Fits.
Thank you for having me.
First, I want to start, you were born in Beirut, Lebanon. In Beirut and Lebanon, basketball is not a huge thing at the time when you're growing up, is it?
It definitely is not. There's no courts. There is no leagues or anything like that. This is completely, I tell people that was my calling. It's what the universe took me to, because the way my life unfolded, there was no way that basketball or the NBA was part of that story. To get to play sports at the highest level is not something that you would do from that country, because sports is not really pushed and it's not cultivated.
How did you find basketball?
I was always a great athlete. I always wanted to play sports. I didn't know whether I wanted to play soccer, track and field, volleyball. And I went to a sneaker shop when we were living in Athens. And the sneaker shop owner happens to be one of the best basketball players that played in Greece at that time. I walk in there and I ask for a size 15 shoe. He's the only guy that carries it. He tells me, "Who are you?" and you need to come and play basketball. And he took me under his wing and took me to it's the top team in that division. It's where Dominique Wilkins played, and a lot of other players have played. So I went there at the age of 15, and he's like, "You're going to train under me." So the first day, I didn't know the sport, but I knew that I was an athlete, so I could jump, I could run, I had all of that, and they just had to teach me how to play the game. That's the calling. If I had not gone into that sports shop and this guy hadn't taken me under his wing, I could have been playing volleyball somewhere. Who knows?
Wow. How in the world did you get on the radar of Jim Boeheim as a young hooper in Greece?
Once I joined that team, I also joined my high school basketball team. I played for the American school in Athens, Greece. And there were tournaments that we played against other American schools in Europe, like in Paris, Brussels, London. All the American high schools in Europe would play these tournaments. And I was pretty much dominating those tournaments at that point. And the competition was not stiff enough for me. So my brother suggested that I come to 5-star basketball camp.
Wow.
In Pennsylvania one of the summers and see what I can do against against other players and people that are going to college, and there's going to be a lot of college coaches there and stuff like that. This is way before European players or Lebanese players or anything was kind of making it to the NBA was impossible, and everybody in Greece told me you're wasting your time going to even to play college basketball. You're going to get eaten alive in the US. I took that as a motivation, so I went to 5-star. Automatically, I just didn't back down. I played as hard as I could. And when Coach Boeheim saw me, he thought somebody was, he thought it was a joke that this guy has not been recruited by anybody. And that was it. He said, you're coming to school here, you're going to get a full scholarship and you're not going anywhere else. I was like, all right, that sounds good to me.
You literally were at the height of the sport in the sense that in college, you're an All-American type of guy. You're going to national title games. And then ultimately you end up being the very first selection in the history of the Miami Heat. You were drafted 9th overall. Guys that got drafted after you, we're talking about Dan Marley, Rod Strickland, Brian Shaw, Vinny Del Negro, Vernon Maxwell, Anthony Mason, Steve Kerr. These are serious players, and Rony Seikaly was one of those people.
Pretty remarkable. I don't know if I could, if I know what I know now, I don't think I can do what I did then.
The peak of Michael Jordan was right smack dab in the middle of that first three-peat, which is when you played them in the playoffs. What was that like playing against Mike and Scotty and Horace and all of those guys?
It was like a rock band that was coming into town, and the fans are kind of split. They don't know who to cheer for because Michael was so good at the time. So, unless you had like a deep rivalry like in New York or something like this, in Miami, they were split. They were kind of cheering for Michael as well. But I'm going to give you one story to kind of tell you what happened in the playoffs with Michael Jordan. He decided to play 36 holes of golf the same day that we had a game. They were up 2-0. It's the first game here at the arena. He goes scoreless in the first quarter. Glenn Rice and Steve Smith at the time gave him a little look, like he hadn't scored a point. He had played 36 holes of golf. He's not taking us serious. We're up 15. You cannot hear anything in the gym. It was so loud. And these guys just gave him a little look, and that woke up the beast. He ends up scoring 56 points the next 3 quarters, and they beat us by 15 or 20 or whatever it is.
Wow, that is incredible. That is just typical Michael Jordan. I do want to, finally transition into your career in music and this EP you're about to drop. I read somewhere, and by somewhere I mean Wikipedia, that you started DJing when you were 14 years old?
Yeah, so if we try to take it back to the high school days when I was playing against the American schools in different cities, I turned my parents' garage into a club where I can DJ. I've always wanted to DJ. I've always had the record players, and at that age you couldn't host the other team because when teams came and visited you, some of the team members had to sleep at your house. That's how it went back then. So you had to host them, and so I used to host the whole team. Wow. And then I would play at the club, and we would just hang out, and then I would invite some friends, and I would raise $10, $20 on a night, and then fix the lights or or upgrade the amplifier or the speakers or whatever it is. So it's been twirling in my system since I was 14.
How long after your playing career ends do you decide, like, all right, I'm going to seriously basically pursue a career in DJing and music? You're DJing at some of the biggest, hottest places in Miami, and you've been doing this for decades now. How did you find your way into that?
It was like a snowball that started kind of rolling down the mountain on its own. It was very real. I mean, it was, I started with a radio show on Sirius XM called Sugar Free Radio. 7 years straight of that Sirius XM radio. So people paid attention to hear me live. And so that took a life of its own. And here I am, not sure where I'm going with this. You know what I mean? So I'm just kind of enjoying the ride.
Talk to us about the EP that's about to drop, man. Tell us the feelings that inspired it and what you want the people to take from this EP when they listen to it.
It's a story of my take on house music, and this is the way that the music plays inside of my head and inside of me.
So the project is called Moonwalk?
Yes.
Moonwalk is coming out pretty soon. I'm excited to listen to it. I really thank you for coming on here today. Big fan of yours. I remember having your basketball card when I was young and growing up. Just tell the people anything you want them to know before we get you out of here.
Go after your dreams, man. Don't let anybody tell you can't do this and you can't do that. If you want to do something and you really believe in it, you just keep doing it and doing it. Knock down every wall, every door. Try to get yourself in there, and somehow, by working hard, something will come of it.
Thank you, man. Thank you so much, Rony. Appreciate you, brother.
Thank you, man.
All right, guys, that's our show for today. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you put your notifications on. This joint is coming out every single Friday on the Ringer YouTube page. We'll see you guys next week. We're out of here.